Hi everyone, my name is Jen and this is B's House of Plants, where we talk about all things house, planty, and home design. Welcome back. So this is part 2 of plants that I've killed, aka my plant graveyard. I did this video about a year ago where I shared with you a bunch of plants that I killed prior to getting into plants. It's been a year. I've acquired a lot of plants. I've also unfortunately killed quite a few plants. So this list is just going to comprise of things that are like super dead, like I had to bin them dead. This does not include things that were on the verge of death and then I brought back to life or are still currently on the verge of death, because those exist as well. I'm just going to count, for my own self-preservation, I'm just going to count the things that are like super dead that I had to basically like throw in the trash. Alright, let's get into it. This is going to be in no particular order, but I think you're going to sense a theme with the types of plants that I've killed. Alright, so the first one on this list is my string of dolphins. This one was actually doing super amazing. It was putting out new growth like all the time, and it was even blooming for me. It bloomed for me like twice before I killed it. But what had happened was that I ended up moving a lot of my plants from one room in the house to a different room in the house, this room, and this room does not have a lot of natural lighting. And when I first moved into this room, I only had one grow light. And so the string of dolphins just wasn't getting enough light and it stopped really growing. And so I decided one day to put the plant outside, but I put it under like a shady umbrella, but I guess I don't know, I don't really remember like how it happened, but either like someone closed the umbrella, probably me honestly, someone closed the umbrella and forgot it out there, and so instead of just being under a nice shady spot outside, it ended up being completely under direct sunlight in the middle of a California summer, and it dried to a crisp. So I was really sad. I did end up trying to salvage a couple of cuttings and the cuttings rooted, but then I had one of my terrible ideas. I tried to put them into leca after they rooted, and string of things don't really do well in leca because they have very shallow root systems, and so it died. So my string of dolphins is completely dead. Alright, so in a similar vein, another plant that I killed, which now I have redeemed myself though, is the variegated string of pearls. So I got this plant, I don't know, I think last winter, and it just didn't do well. It didn't do well like immediately in my home. I think I was potentially giving it too much humidity, which is kind of surprising because I don't really think that's one of the things that you think you can give your plant too much of, but I think I was giving it too much humidity, and I think that the soil mixture that it came in just wasn't great, and so it ended up dying. I think I also ended up burning a lot of my string of pearls, especially the variegated version. They are quite sensitive to direct lighting, so I think I was trying to counterbalance the too much humidity problem with giving it a lot of light, and then I ended up putting it like directly underneath a grow light, and then it just didn't do well and it died. I have now since redeemed myself. I got myself a second variegated string of pearls and it's doing amazing. The biggest difference is that this time my variegated string of pearls came in a mixture that was very airy. It looks to be about like 50% perlite and 50% whatever potting soil the nursery uses. The mixture is completely different than the mixture from last time, so they must have gotten it from a different supplier. And the string of pearls now, fantastic, doing amazing. I even have it relatively close to a grow light, and it's doing perfectly fine. It's doing beautifully. I'll have to remember to insert a picture or a video or somewhere right here to show you my new one. I water this one about once a week-ish in the summertime. In the winter time, closer to every 10 days or every 14 days, and it's doing really, really well. Okay, so you're really gonna sense a pattern here. The next plant on this list is the elephant bush. So obviously I don't do very well with succulent plants or succulent type plants. This one, I think I actually neglected and underwatered, I think. So I moved it downstairs at one point, and then, but the plants downstairs I kept forgetting about because they weren't with the rest of my plants, and so I kept forgetting to water it, so I think a lot of it dried out. So then once I finally found it, I moved it back upstairs, and then I think I overcompensated, and so instead of chronically underwatering it, suddenly I was giving it too much water, and we've already established succulents don't really like that much water, and so it died. Goodbye, elephant bush. So the next plant on this list hurts a lot. It hurts a lot, especially because people still ask me about it to this day, and I have to admit that I killed it. And that is my Pepperoni pink marble. Oh, I love that plant. It was so beautiful, and right before I killed it, it was producing like so many pink leaves, and I loved it so much. The weird thing is that I did try to propagate it like when it was healthy, and it did not take well. Like none of my propagations took. And then it started dying pretty rapidly and pretty immediately, and so I tried to save it. It turns out that peperomias, especially Peperomia caparatas, are quite prone to stem rot, which is very frustrating because when I unpotted it, the root system was fine, but leaves would just still die. So even after I repotted it into, you know, a better mixture that was a little bit more airy, it was still dying. I even tried to convert it to leca at one point as kind of like a last-ditch attempt at saving the plant, and it just kept dying, and I didn't know how to fix it. That is probably like the plant that I still think about the most that I've killed. Definitely a plant that I would love to rebuy in the future, but I don't think anytime soon. I just have a really bad track record with peperomias, which is, I think, kind of weird because I think peperomias are supposed to be easy plants, but not easy for me. Oh, speaking of peperomia, the next one you guys have heard me moan and complain about, and that is the watermelon peperomia. I really, really wished the watermelon peperomia worked for me because I love the way that they look so much. They're also very easy to propagate. I have propagated like probably dozens of pots of watermelon peperomias. I've been able to give them away, like blah, 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 blah. But the one thing I cannot do is apparently keep a pot of them alive. I still actually do have a few pots left around the house, and I have one in leca that's doing pretty well. But the main like big plant that I had that died, stem rot, completely dead. And then there were also a few smaller pots that after I rooted and after they were like actively growing, also dead. And I really don't think that at this point I'm overwatering because I was so conscious of the fact that I was killing these plants that I drastically reduced the amount of water I was giving it, but still not happy. I don't really know. I think I just like don't do well with peperomias for whatever reason. We can't get on the same page with our watering needs. So I recently got a Peperomia Frost, not recently, recently-ish, got a Peperomia Frost, and it actually is surprisingly doing okay. I think that if I can keep this Peperomia Frost alive for like a year, I might attempt to go buy another Peperomia pink marble. Next plant on this list is actually kind of surprising that I killed because it's a pretty hardy plant, and that is the Hoya Carey Eye. Hoya Carey Eyes are known to be easy to care for plants and they don't need a whole lot of water, so guess what I did? I overwatered it. So the Hoya Carey Eye used to be on this plant shelf, but it used to be at the very, very top, so it wasn't getting a ton of light. It was mostly getting residual light from this grow light over here, and so it was doing okay for a really long time. I think I had it for like over a year and it was doing great. It was a single leaf Hoya Carey Eye, so it wasn't growing because single leaf Hoya Carey Eyes don't tend to grow. But it was doing great, you know, it was a cute plant. I liked it on display. So when I still had my Hoya Carey Eye, I didn't water it every single time I was watering the rest of my plants because it definitely did not need that much water, but I must have accidentally watered it like twice in a row or something when I was watering all of my other plants. So the next time I took the plant down to give it a watering, I realized that like over half the plant was already rotted, so I ended up just having to chuck it. A little bit sad about that, but it's okay. I wasn't particularly like attached to that plant, but it's a little bit sad. Okay, so the final two plants on this list, they were not plants, but they were cuttings that I tried to propagate and they didn't take, so they ended up just dying. And these two are going to hurt because they were both kind of expensive. So the first one is a philodendron Jose Bono cutting, and this one was kind of frustrating because I had multiple philodendron Jose Bono cuttings from like a mother plant, and some of them took and then some of them didn't. And it's frustrating because I don't know why the ones that didn't take didn't root, because I treated all of them exactly the same. You know, like I cut them so that they all had, you know, significant space, you know, next to the nodes so that it would be able to root. So I tried water first and some of them took immediately and rooted perfectly fine in water, and the ones that did not root in water I ended up putting into moss, and then I even tried perlite at one point, and then there was even a point where I just potted up into dirt and was just like, if it roots, it roots. And then I tried the plastic bag trick, I tried heat mats, I tried everything, and in the end there was one cutting of philodendron Jose Bono that, despite all of my attempts, did not root for a very long time, and then eventually the stem just dried up, and so I had to throw it away, and I'm really, really sad about that. And then the last one is something that you guys didn't even know I had this plant because I've never talked about it, and that is a Monstera albo cuttings actually. So I bought a Monstera albo cutting locally and it has several notes on it, and I tried to root them and I kept losing, you know, I kept getting stem rot, so I was cutting like higher and higher and higher, and eventually I lost several nodes. But I have good news to end this video, and the good news is that I had one node left of my Monstera albo and it rooted. So if you watch my last video, I showed in that video, it is back here in this clear container. I currently have it plugged in right now to my hydroponic system. That's why I'm not going to take it out to show you, but there are significant amount of roots on that cutting. So I'm gonna call that a success. So those are my confessions to plants that I've killed in the past year or so. I hope this helps. I think that the expectations that, oh, just because you care about a plant or you make videos about a plant or you post photos about a plant on Instagram means that you are a perfect plant parent and plants don't die is ridiculous. Plants die despite our best attempts sometimes, or honestly sometimes you just make dumb mistakes like forgetting your plant outside and then they die. So yeah, alright, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!